That's Enough Out of You podcast is sponsored by Todd John's Law. Unfortunately, bad things happen to good people, whether it's the result of an auto accident caused by the carelessness of another driver or being charged with a crime. Dealing with the aftermath of a personal injury accident or being involved with the criminal justice system can be extremely difficult. That's why, whatever you're facing, you should never go it alone. You need an experienced attorney who will stand by you every step of the way. Todd is experienced, licensed, trusted, respected, and guaranteed. No one will work harder or more diligently on your behalf, and he will personally handle your case from beginning to end. Located on Drinker Street in Dunmore, Pennsylvania, Todd has been representing the legal rights of Scranton and Wilkes-Barre personal injury victims and those accused of a crime for over 20 years. At Todd John's Law, the utmost priority is ensuring that your rights are always protected and that your case is resolved as quickly and fairly as possible so that you can move on with your life. Call Todd John's Law at 570-876-6903. With Todd John's Law, you will receive equal justice under the law. That's Enough Out of You is also sponsored by Casa Quattro Winery, featuring over 20 flavors of wine, from dry red, dry white, and fruit for your sampling pleasure. Casa Quattro Winery offers entertainment, parties, and private events. Now serving a full menu with a little something for everyone, including appetizers, salads, dinners, pizza, and desserts. Casa Quattro has some of the best live entertainment in the area, with comedy and karaoke nights and live bands. Check us out on Facebook and Instagram for all of our upcoming events. And if you mention the code OUTTA, that's OUTTA, you get 15% off of your order. Located on Main Street in Peckville, Pennsylvania, call 570-382-3855 for more information. And we thank Casa Quattro Winery for their support. Hello, and welcome to That's Enough Out of You. I am your host, Bill Rader, and joining me, as always, is my co-host, Sean Kane. Sean, what's going on?
Billy Raids, how you doing today, buddy?
We're doing all right, I guess. Can't complain today.
Nah, we got a great episode, Billy. This is one of the favorite things I like to do is to answer listener questions.
Fantastic. Well, I know we just did one of these. I don't know if it was last month or a couple months ago.
But they keep coming in.
They keep coming in. We never get to all the questions and comments. So we're gonna get a little bit more caught up this week. So let's kick it off, Sean. I'll start reading these, and then I'll kick it over to you, and you can respond. You can answer the questions. Sound good?
Sounds good, Billy.
All right. Well, first one is a great comment. We got Scott Alfieri, who we've had on our show before, who is one of our Patreons, one of the great friends of our podcast. And Scott's comment was, and I forget which episode this was about. Oh, this was
Freddie Hampton, I believe, Billy.
Was this the Hampton episode?
I think so. Yeah.
So he says, great episode. People should see the contradiction of Marcello and other Sicilian bosses being portrayed as brilliant masterminds and also loose cannons who talk to strangers about that thing of theirs. Their insular nature was developed over 1,000+ years of Sicilian history. That goes for the Sicilians who were not involved with the mafia and those who were. Also, the way the Panthers were infiltrated was the same way the Mujahideen, then Al-Qaeda, were at least influenced by the CIA, FBI, Saudi intelligence, ISI. More evidence is coming to light that other groups like ISIS, the Syrian spin-offs of Al-Qaeda, like Jamaat Islami, something like that, I think that's what that says, etc., have been influenced and controlled in the same type way. Also, Bill's point is important, whether it's the mafia, the Panthers, Al-Qaeda, etc. Where is the judicial process? I thought that's what makes our democracy different than all these other societies. We try people in a court of law before a jury and then determine a sentence, not break our own constitutional laws, assassinate people in the night, There's a bit more of gray area with non-citizens like bin Laden, but these other cases, like those of Hampton, the mafia, Anwar al-Kai, and his son, set an extremely dangerous precedent that basically legalizes the actions of the deep state and use the parapolitics or deep politics. Again, great episode. Thank both of you for doing this stuff. I'll share this episode again shortly. Wow.
Wow, great comment by Scott, and he always has great comments. I mean, he's just a smart dude. And the first thing I want to touch on what he said, Billy, on the Sicilians. That's such a great point, and that's what I try to hammer home, and that's why I wanted to get that question out about Marcello on the Hampton episode, because these guys, these old school bosses that immigrated from Sicily and grew up in Sicily, they do not talk to outsiders. And I just don't understand what people don't get about that. And when they say these rumors, and it's, a boss talking to a non-member of Cosa Nostra, it's just puts up a big red flag, because they do not talk. This is the way they were raised in that life, and they do not talk to outsiders. And it's just a very important point that, Scott answered that great in that comment, buddy.
Yeah.
And then the other stuff he talked about, with the Mojahedin and everything, he's spot on with that. I mean, this is what they do. The intel groups, they infiltrate these groups, they put in their own people in there, and their operatives are there to cause chaos within the group. And this is what they did with the Panthers, and they did this with Al Qaeda and ISIS and everything else. And then his point about you bringing up about, where's the democracy?
Right. The judicial process.
Yeah. Where is it?
Right.
Where is it? I mean,
with Hampton, there was none. It was an assassination.
None.
I mean, it was just, that's plain and simple,
But there's no oversight for these intel groups. And they were running, the FBI with COINTELPRO and,
right.
And I was looking over files because my brother in Hopkins were asking me about different things. The Bob Marley movie's coming out, and the CIA was after him for various reasons. And, his name is in the files all over the place. And just, we talked about this, Billy. Anybody in the 60s that just leaned to the left a little bit, they were under the gun, and they were being attacked. And that leads to John Lennon later on. I mean, they were just, they had files. The CIA and the FBI had files on everybody that just turned their head to the left and was in a high position, like an actor or a musician or somebody that could reach a lot of people.
Right.
And they were a danger to these intel groups.
Yeah.
So yeah, great comment there, Scott.
Yeah, keep them coming, Scott, because that was really well thought out.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it. And appreciate you being a Patreon also.
Definitely.
All right, we're ready for the next one?
Go ahead, buddy.
All right, so the next one comes from Giordano from Rome, Italy. This is a question about the Rob Reiner documentary. So Bill and Sean, what are your thoughts on the Rob Reiner documentary, Who Killed JFK? I found it good, but nothing new there. You two covered all of it on your podcasts. He's pretty much right about that.
Well, he is right, Billy. I don't know how much you've seen of it. I listened to the whole thing.
I have not seen any of it, so I've not had a chance to yet.
Well, overall, I think it's pretty good.
Yeah.
But like he said, everything you hear on there, if you listen to our episodes from the beginning, you'll get all that information already. You already have it, because just listen to the episodes we had Jim D'Eugenio on, Lisa Pease, the individual ones that me and you did about Oswald. You get all the information there. But Reiner's a great storyteller, and he packaged this really good. And he brought in Soledad O'Brien because of the fact that she doesn't know anything about JFK and the assassination. And he wanted her to kind of learn along with the listener. So that's why she was brought in. And it was good. But there was a couple things there, Billy, that I think he should have left out that he could get hammered on, like the Tosh Plumley story about the board team. And there's some holes in that story. I would have left that out. Like Professor Blow talks about chokeholds.
Yeah.
You want something that can't be refuted. And that ties into Roselli being in Dallas, and we know he wasn't. So that he's going to get a hit on that from people who really look into it. So he should have left that out. And he also said he named 4 snipers, Billy. And, that's a gray area too. That's a little ambitious because it's really hard to narrow them down.
Right.
But I think he got 3 to 4 right. But that's just my opinion. I mean, he said the OAS was one, and we talked about that. He pronounced the guy different, but Jim DiEugenio pronounces the guy's name Sutre. I believe he was one of the shooters, the French commando. The other one was a Cuban exile trained at the JM Wave Station in Miami by the CIA. I believe that one to be accurate. And then the third was a Marine sniper under the guidance of General Willoughby. That one I believe is factual. But then he goes on the fourth one. He puts in there Charles Nicoletti, who was a button man for the Chicago outfit. And then, again, I don't understand why they keep putting a mob in these things. Like
Right.
Charles Nicoletti there's nothing in his resume, Billy, that shows him to be a sniper. Like I don't even think he was a hunter. So, I mean, these mob guys, most of them are not snipers. Now, there is exceptions, Stephen the Rifleman Flemmy up in Boston, the right hand of Whitey Bulger. He got the name Rifleman because he was a sharpshooter in Korea in the military. So naturally, he's got that skill level, but most of them don't. And Nicoletti's hits are all close up with a 22 or 38 to the back of the head. I think he killed a couple guys with axes. I mean, there's nothing in there like, what is he going to do, Billy? Be throwing axes at JFK like he's Jason from Friday the 13th? I mean, I just don't understand why, tactically it makes no sense. So I don't know why Nicoletti's name was brought in there. That one I think is a mistake. But Reiner did bring up one interesting point, Billy, and I want your thoughts on this.
Yeah.
He said this was on an interview we had on Black Op Radio, and he said he didn't put this in the film, in the podcast, I mean, because he couldn't prove it 100%. But he said that the one thing that bothered him was the first shot, missed the car completely, and almost hit it hit a bystander, James Tague, but it was on the other street. Like he missed by so much that first shot. And he said that these highly trained snipers, why would they miss that first shot? And he talked about Operation Northwoods, how they were false flag against Cuba and trying to blame Cuba. And it could have been a simulated attack. And then there was other people in the CIA that kind of said, well, no, we're going to go ahead and kill them. See, I don't know about that, Billy. I do see his point where, you missed that first shot. It probably was missed on purpose, but I'm thinking because it came from the back, Billy, there is probably to set up the sniper, to the Patsy Oswald,
Right.
the first shot,
Yeah.
to get everybody's attention back there. That's why I think, that first shot missed the car completely.
So, but
go ahead.
Here's what bothers me about that. If the Secret Service were doing their job,
right,
as soon as they heard that first shot, they should have been out of there. I mean,
they should have been out of there, Billy, but they didn't do their job.
Right.
We know that, right from the beginning, they ordered the guys off the car bumpers and stuff. And the one guy put his hands up like, what are you doing here? You're ordering me off the car. Like, we know all this stuff. We know that there was no Secret Service on the ground. Even though there was people using CIA identification, they were imposters. But I'm sorry, Secret Service identification, they were imposters. But the Secret Service did a terrible job. We know that there was a military intelligence unit that was supposed to supplement the Secret Service, and they were asked to stand down. So,
right.
It's just like anything, Bill. The protection was lowered, Billy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that first shot, though, I do see, what Reiner, that's a good point by Reiner, because a lot of people don't talk about that. A trained assassin, a trained sniper, to miss by that much, it had to be probably a purpose job.
Right. Sounds like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I recommend everybody to see that film, the podcast, the Reiner thing, but
it's just an audio podcast?
It's audio. As far as I know, it's just audio. Yeah. And I think it's like 10 episodes, Billy. A lot of them are short. And a lot of them are filled with ads, Billy. You talk about his sponsors, Jeepers. I mean, he'll have a 30-minute episode and like 15 minutes will be ads.
Right. Yeah.
But I mean, he's Rob Reiner. So,
right.
I mean, he's a great storyteller. He put everything together really good. And he had some really good authors that, he had in there, but I just wish, he had access to Jim D'Eugenio, Lisa Peace. I wish he put them in there. I think they would have really added to make it even better, and they would have told him where a couple things he should have left out.
Right.
Like the Plumlee story and other things, and naming the snipers is kind of ambitious. But I do think he got 3 to 4, or at least, he's in the area there. He's pretty accurate with those, but the Nicoletti one, I don't believe.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, Giordano, thank you. Thank you again for your question and for listening.
Yes.
Right, you ready for the next one?
Go ahead, Billy.
All right. Here we go. American Patriot. He's our biggest fan. American Patriot identifies as a man. He says our show is such a gift. The only person he likes more than us is Taylor Swift. All right. Guess who
this is? God. Whew.
I told you I was going to come up with something.
I'll tell you what, Billy, that was tremendous, buddy. I'm sure he's going to love that song, buddy. Great job, Billy. Great job.
That one's for you, Patriot. We love you.
Wow. I can't wait to hear his response.
Well, you got to hear this comment. This may be Sean, this may be the best comment we've ever gotten on this show. I think it's well thought out. It makes total sense. It is just it's fantastic. Here, here
Go
we
ahead.
go. Let me read it to you. All right, the American Patriot from Big D. So we know where he's located, right?
Dallas, Texas.
There you go. So this makes a ton of sense here. Not one person in the great state of Texas listens to you two turncoats. Not one. Well, I can think of one.
Well, he's saying that, Billy, while he is listening to us in the state of Texas.
Although, who knows? Maybe he crosses the border or something. Maybe he goes down to Mexico or something.
Maybe he's just like Yogi Berra, Bill. Like nobody goes there anymore. It's too crowded.
There you go. All right, and then he goes on to say, "Now you two are Swifties. WTF? She is worse than Jane Fonda. Oh, worse than Jane Fonda. She is anti-American and hates this country like her Bud Light drinking boyfriend and his brother. For the record, last time I was referring to the mob guy from Chicago who the government hired to kill Castro. Keep up the lousy work. You guys suck." What was he talking? Oh, he got the wrong.
The last time he was said, Billy, what did he say? Carlo Marino or something?
No, it's something.
So now he was talking about Sam Giancana. So how does he get Carlo Marino from Sam Giancana? They don't even sound anything alike, but whatever, buddy. Wow. Well, and then as far as, go ahead, Billy, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You go.
Well, no, I mean, as far as me and you being Swifties, I mean, this is funny. I mean, I just think it's hilarious how she gets these simpletons like the American Patriot so worked up by doing nothing except being herself.
She's such a threat.
They just go crazy. I mean, all they do is put her on the TV for 30 seconds and they go nuts. They go absolutely crazy. And it's like, it's hilarious.
She's usually on there for like 2 seconds. 2 seconds they show her. And
that's enough though, Billy.
It's enough to make these snowflakes go crazy. I'll tell you.
It's unbelievable.
But go ahead. Not only did I create a theme song for American Patriot.
Okay.
I've also found an app that translates what the American Patriot writes to you and what he actually means. So it translates it from what he writes to what he actually means to say.
Okay.
Do you need that?
Yeah.
All right. Here's the translation. Okay. The American Patriot from Big D. We all love you guys down here in the great state of Texas. We think you guys are gifts to this country, and we know that you love this country. We all support you. Now you two are Swifties, just like me. She's almost as good as Jane Fonda. She loves our country, and she loves drinking Bud Light with her boyfriend, Travis Kelce, who may be the best tight end ever, and his brother. And for the record, the last time I was referring to the mob guy from Chicago and blah, 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 Keep up the great work. You guys are awesome, and I love you. Love, American Patriot. Oh,
Well,
see,
thanks, Patriot.
that's what he really means when he writes this stuff. So, yeah.
Well, you know, Billy, just the thing, you know, he talks about how nobody listens in Texas. I've been working on the analytics, and we do actually have some listeners down there in Texas. I mean,
Sure.
it's not like Arizona's a huge base for us, you know, Tucson and Phoenix, they love us in Arizona, but we got some listeners down in Texas, the Austin area, Lubbock, Texas.
Yeah.
Pretty consistent, you know, and of course we know we have our biggest fan down there in Big D,
Right.
you know, and
Patriot.
yeah. So I mean, that was fantastic, Billy, and we always appreciate his work because, you know, I know he works hard on these comments, and I know he's a huge fan, listens every week, and I'm sure he appreciates your theme song.
American Patriot, he's our biggest fan. American Patriot identifies as a man. He says our show is such a gift. The only person he likes more than us is Taylor Swift. All right.
Boy, the vocals on that guy, Billy.
How about that?
Wow. I mean, you're hitting the high notes there, buddy.
Whew. See, I worked hard on that, Sean. I did.
Like Rob Halford from Judas Priest, buddy.
There you go. That's kind of. Maybe more like Vince Neil at this point. But what are you going to do?
Great job, though, Billy. Great job.
Well, that ends the American Patriot portion.
Yeah, we gave him enough time, Billy.
I think we did. All right, let's move on. Okay. All right. Next, either question. I think this is a comment from Latest Flame, LFR, about Fred Hampton episode. So, Latest Flame says, hell of a great episode. Thanks so much. The fifth assassination really needs to be discussed more and included in our history classes, both high school and college.
Yeah, it does. And all this work, like Jim D'Eugenio's work and Lisa Peace, that should all be in colleges and high schools, Billy, because, you know, we have Professor Blow on, and he talked about how academia is failing, Billy. They're not, right. They're violating their code of conduct. They're not going after new information that's out, and they're not evolving. You know, I mean, history's got to be fluid, Bill. As information comes in, new information, you have to be able to report it, and to just ignore every investigation and just go after the Warren Commission that's, you know, easily disputed and held up as a fraud. I mean, but it's just, you know, it's a failure of academia. So, I mean, I'd love to see all these authors' works in there, like Jim and Lisa.
Probably won't happen, but
probably not, but it should.
It should. Okay. All right. Thanks, Latest Flame. All right. Next one. This is just a nice comment coming from John Burns, 6633. He says, great channel. Keep up the great work, gentlemen. Well, thank you.
Well, thank you. I don't know about that word gentleman. That's, you know, well, use a Billy, but thanks, John.
What are you going to say? What are you going to do? All right. Thank you, John Burns. All right. Mr. Duncan. Mr. Duncan in Auckland, New Zealand.
Another stranglehold, Billy, that we have. Stronghold, whatever you want to call it.
In Billy. New Zealand, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Mr. Duncan says, great episode getting Munir Sirhan. That was incredible. Question about the JFK assassination. Do you think oil man H.L. Hunt was involved? We used to talk about him, Sean.
We used to. Well, remember, Billy, if you go back, you know, in the first part of that, you know, it was great having Munir Sirhan on. That was a fantastic. And we thank Lisa Peace for that. That was tremendous. Yeah. But if you remember, Billy, back when we first met in the 90s and start talking about this stuff, you remember I was on that where I thought H.L. Hunt was a very, very, you know, prime suspect, and I thought he was one of the masterminds of this. And as I evolved in my investigations and research and you know, start reading other authors like Jim and Lisa and stuff, and I've come to the conclusion that H.L. Hunt had nothing to do with it. But I think, Billy, that the CIA and Dulles and Angleton, these guys, they always have contingency plans. And I think that H.L. Hunt has been used as kind of like a shield, and this is just my opinion, Billy, a shield to block the one oil man that I think might have had a hand in this, and that's D.H. Byrd.
Mm-hmm.
You always hear about it, H.L. Hunt and the Murkinsons, who were the founders of the Dallas Cowboys. Shout out to the American Patriot down there. But I think D.H. Byrd, if you look at him, he owned the Texas School Book Depository. He knew Ruth Payne.
Yeah.
He opened up the depository just a few weeks before the assassination. He started the Civil Air Patrol Unit where Lee Harvey Oswald first met David Ferry, and he got an award for that from Kennedy hater General Curtis LeMay, who's like just Hannibal Lecter in a military outfit. But I mean, it's just like, there's so many connections. I think to each bird. And the one thing, Billy, is after the assassination, he had the window of the Texas School Book Depository where Oswald, the official story says he shot out of. He had that taken to his mansion, and he set up a shrine there. Now, I talked to Lisa Pease about this, and she said, well, if he was really one of the planners, he would have known that Oswald was a patsy. And I said, well, my opinion, I don't think he was holding this as a shrine to say Oswald did it. I think he's slapping everybody in the face saying, hey, I know the truth of what happened. The rest of the world thinks this patsy shot from this window.
Yeah.
And here, he's holding it up as a shrine there. That's what I think. He's telling everybody, hey, we set this guy up and we took care of the troublemaking president. But anyway, I mean, you have to have some type of mental disturbance, Billy, to put that window in your house like a shrine. I mean, what's the matter right there,
Yeah.
Absolutely. But that's what I think. I don't think there's much. I know a lot of people wrote books about it, H.L. Hunt and stuff, but I don't think he had any direct involvement. There's no doubt he hated Kennedy, and he was probably celebrating when he was killed, but I don't think he had any direct involvement.
Yeah. All right. Good question. Thank you, Mr. Duncan. All right, let's move on. Next, we have a question from Dougie Gooner. He says, I love your show, guys. Professor Paul Blow is an encyclopedia of knowledge in the JFK research community. Superb show. Yeah, thank you, Dougie. Absolutely. Paul Blow is fantastic. And we've now had him on twice, Sean.
Yeah, I think he was on. I think he was on twice. And the last time he was on, he was talking about chokeholds.
Right.
So, his book Chokeholds that he wrote with Jim Diogenio and 3 other authors, and we're trying to schedule those other authors to come on. We have one lined up so far to record. But yeah, I mean, Professor Blow is tremendous. His research and all the work he did. Studying how academia treats the assassination, and just his work about Oswald, his research on Oswald and the Fair Play for Cuba Committee. I mean, just tremendous wealth of information, Billy.
Yeah, absolutely. And we can't wait to have him back on and have more of the authors from that great book, Chokeholds. All right, Dougie Gooner, thank you for your comment there. And we will be right back. We'd like to take a minute to thank our sponsors, Residence Inn by Marriott in Scranton. Discover comfort and convenience in Scranton. If you're planning a short or extended stay in the Scranton, Pennsylvania area, Residence Inn by Marriott, located at 947 Viewmont Drive, will ensure your stay is nothing short of exceptional. Their friendly team is committed to providing you with top-notch service and a memorable experience. Whether you're in town for business, leisure, or a bit of both, Residence Inn Scranton has you covered. They offer free Wi-Fi, an indoor pool, meeting and event space, complimentary hot breakfast, a fitness center, and an on-site market. And Residence Inn Scranton is pet-friendly. Your home away from home. Residence Inn Scranton features spacious studio, 1-bedroom, and 2-bedroom suites, and all are complete with a fully equipped kitchen. There's a cozy fireplace lounge and an outdoor barbecue area. Call 570-343-5121 or go to Marriott.com for more information. Residence Inn Scranton, where hospitality meets home. That's Enough Out of You is also sponsored by Fairfield Inn by Marriott. Located at 949 Viewmont Drive in Scranton, Pennsylvania, Fairfield in Scranton exemplifies travel made easy. They offer stylish guest rooms with plush bedding, complimentary hot breakfast with healthy options, one of the area's premier hotel fitness centers, as well as nearby dining options. While you're staying at Fairfield Scranton, make sure you check out some local attractions like the Scranton Cultural Center, the Electric City Trolley Museum, Montage Mountain Resorts, and the Steamtown National Historic Site. Catch a Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins game or a concert at the Mohegan Sun Arena, or take the historic Lackawanna Coal Mine tour. Fairfield in Scranton is in the center of it all. Experience comfort and convenience in Scranton at the Fairfield Inn by Marriott. Call 570-343-5121 or go to Marriott.com for more information. Fairfield in Scranton, where hospitality meets home. Next, this one comes from Dobson in Miami. Your good friend, Sean.
Yeah.
Sean, read your article on your website about college football, and I disagree that conference realignment is ruining college football. I think NIL is, because college players should not be paid. They already get a full ride scholarship for free. Also, I watched Notre Dame's bowl game, and I do see what you mean by their talent. They have some stud freshmen and sophomores, so I will give you that.
Well, he's referring to the article I wrote, Billy, on college football and how, NIL and, the conference realignment and transfer portal and all this is wrecking the sport. But I disagree with him saying the players shouldn't be paid. I don't, I had this disagreement with Scott Hopkins too. He said the same thing, but I have no problem with the players getting paid, especially if the school does it right and they tie it to charities, helps everybody in the community. I mean, I think it's a great thing. I just have a problem with these handing out these cash bags to high school players to get them to come to the school, or, given in the transfer portal, poaching players away that are already signed with a different school, and offering them cash bags that they're never going to give the full amount. And then the player ends up transferring out of there when he finds out he was lied to. And, it's just a mess. And as far as the conference realignment, Billy, I don't know how anybody could defend that. I mean, it's just, how does it make sense having these West Coast teams coming to the Big Ten without the other Midwest?
It's crazy.
It's stupid, and it's killing traditional rivalries. I mean, Oklahoma, Nebraska used to play every year. I mean, I used to love watching that game, even though I never had a stake in either team. I love watching that rivalry, and it's like,
I mean, you get what's happening is you have these like 2 or 3 super conferences, and then and then there's like everybody else is kind of fighting for the scraps.
Yeah, and that's what's going to happen, Billy. And that's it's ruining. The Pac-12 just got dissolved, and they had, and it's funny because they had a really good year this year, the Pac-12. I mean, they had one of their best years in recent memory, and that's all gone now, Billy. And it's just and I don't know. I disagree. The players should get paid, Billy. I have no problem with them getting paid. It's just the way
I agree.
The NCAA should enforce the rules. And it's interesting, Billy. The only team so far that the NCAA went after for NIL violations is Florida State, and it only happened after Florida State sued them over being locked out of the playoffs with an undefeated team. So that shows you what the NCAA is all about.
I think they just, I don't know. At some point, they're just going to have to dispose with the charade that this is, above board, and just start signing players to contracts. To paid contracts.
Well, then you get into a really gray area, Billy.
Well, I mean, at least there, the player's going to be there for a certain amount of time. They know what they're going to get paid. I don't understand. Like this is just, it seems just so everything is like under the table
it's not. See, that's the thing, Billy. It's not everything that's under the table. Like a lot of schools are doing NIL right. Like I obviously I talk about Notre Dame all the time, but they're not the only school doing it right. I mean, most schools are doing it the right way, Billy. It's the outliers, the Oregons, Oklahomas, they're the ones that are doing this garbage. Paying Texas A&M is another one, doing all this illegal stuff, and they're so loud in blatant about it. And that's the
Right.
thing. Like, it's not across the board. Most teams are following the rules of NIL. And that's hard for a lot of people to believe because these other teams are just doing it so blatantly.
Yeah.
So it's not it's just the NCAA's got to do their job, which they never do. And they got to just tighten down on these handful of teams that are wrecking it for everybody else. But the other problems, Billy, are something that, the conference realignment. I mean, I don't know what you're going to do there. That ship's already sailed, I think. And,
Right.
the transfer portal could be fixed. I mean, that could be fixed. I mean, you can't have these kids transferring constantly. I mean, you have to set some kind of rule. They should really have one transfer and that's it.
Right. I think
And
they should have one transfer and then an exception for, if their coach leaves for another
something
team or
like
for the
that.
pros.
I'd
Yeah.
agree with that.
I don't have
I'd
any
agree
problem with
that.
that. But yeah, I mean, this just hopping from one school to the next is crazy.
But most of these things are fixable, Billy.
Right.
They're fixable, but the NCAA never does their job. They pick and choose who they go after. This is what they did with Notre Dame a few years ago. Notre Dame reported themselves on Everett Golson, where the tutor was helping him with an essay, and she pretty much wrote most of it. And Notre Dame found out about it. They suspended Golson for a whole year and absolutely ruined his football career because he was never the same quarterback after that. The girl got kicked out of school, and they did their job. They found this. The NCAA didn't investigate it. The Notre Dame found this, and they reported themselves to the NCAA. And what did the NCAA do? They took a bunch of wins from Notre Dame, which is the dumbest thing. Taking wins from teams is stupid.
Yeah. Ridiculous.
But what they did is they set a nice precedent there where, hey, if you report yourself, if you find a violation and you enforce it yourself, we're gonna hammer you anyway.
Right.
And why would any team that like down in Alabama or somewhere or Texas A&M finds the same thing going on? Why would they report it? Why would they report it? Because they're just going to get hit.
Yep.
Well, maybe they won't because the NCAA picks and chooses who they go after. They still haven't done anything about North Carolina making a fake classes, Billy. They actually had fake classes for players. I mean, nothing's been done with that.
That's crazy.
So the NCAA is the problem. I mean, that's the main problem. And then
They've always been.
the other part of his question, yeah, I mean, Notre Dame, I've been saying, Billy, the talent level is there. If you watch that game and you've seen the unbelievable talent in the younger classes, and this is why some of these older kids are transferring out. They see the writing on the wall. Freeman is bringing in talent left and right. Now it's just a matter of, can he coach it up? That's the only question left, Billy.
There you go. There you go. All right, Dobson. Good questions and comments. Thank you. All right, Sean, next one comes from Tommy TJ Rollins from Auburn, California. Sean and Bill, what do you make of General Ed Lansdale being in Daily Plaza on November 22nd per Fletcher Prouty? And also, Bill, great job on your episode about the opioid epidemic. Well, thank you. Thank you, TJ. I appreciate that. Sean, what about Ed Lansdale?
Very interesting character. He was basically Alan Dulles' operative inside the military. He was a marketing guy that Dulles plucked out, in the business world and put him in the military to be his eyes and ears. He was like a propaganda guy. So what his role would have been, I really don't, I'm not clear on that, but he was definitely, an interesting character involved in a lot of things in Vietnam later on. But Fletcher Prouty identified the picture, Billy, of the tramps walking by and this guy in a suit walking by him. And he sent that picture to like 8 people that knew General Lansdale. And he didn't say anything. And he said, "What do you see in this picture?" And they all said, "My God, that's Ed Lansdale. What the hell's he doing in Dealey Plaza on 22nd of November, 1963?" And one of the people was his own wife, Lansdale's wife, identified him. And the other thing is he identified him from the ring on his finger too, Billy.
Yeah.
So I mean, Fletcher Prouty's everybody knows he was Mr. X in the JFK Oliver Stone movie, and his great book is on our bookshop, Billy, The Secret Team. And his other book on the JFK assassinations on there. But just a fascinating guy, Prouty, and his information is solid. So if he says something, I tend to believe him, Billy.
Yeah, I agree.
And Oliver put that in the movie too, Billy. And we talked about this. I think we talked about this with was it Johnny Kearns? I forget. We talked about the alternate ending to the JFK,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
he talks about Lansdale being in, but of course they call him General Y in the film,
right.
but that was Lansdale. General
Yeah,
Y was Lansdale in the JFK movie.
yeah. All right. All right. Tommy TJ Rollins, thank you. Appreciate the question and the comment. All right. Austin in Sweden. Sean and Bill, love your episode with Don McGovern on Marilyn Monroe, and I appreciate what you're trying to do. But, and Sean, everything that comes before the word but is bullshit, in my opinion.
I know.
Don't you think that there has to be something to this stuff since it's been talked about for 100 years?
No. Just because something's talked about, people, Billy. We know a bunch of them that love the gossip and rumors, and they don't care if the rumor's true or not. No. If you listen to Don McGovern, he proves that 99% of this stuff is garbage. And he talked about the guy David Heyman, who was collecting obituaries and then making sure these people are dead, and then making up fake interviews he had with them, basically where he could say anything. And the problem is, Bill, the mainstream media allows this to happen, and they just so much clickbait, Billy. They just want stories and everything. And social media has made it worse, Billy.
Yeah,
it made it worse.
And my response to you, Austin, would be, if this has been talked about for 100 years, where's the proof? Where's the evidence? Like, talk is one thing, but talk is acceptable in court. Talk is not something that you can prove. You can show evidence. You can show, if you can show me evidence that, Marilyn, that Bobby had killed Marilyn, or, had an affair with Marilyn. Where's that? Where is it?
Where is it? And Don McGovern destroys it, Billy, and when you find out that most of all this information, most of it's coming from about half a dozen unreliable sources, and everybody kind of piggybacks off of that. I mean, once you realize people like Gianni Russo is just making stuff up.
People that like to sell books and like to pretend that they have some sort of inside knowledge of this stuff, but they don't.
Yeah, I mean, it's just ridiculous. And social media has made it worse, Billy. Clickbaits and
right.
Now you got, accounts on Twitter. They're just looking for likes. They're looking for, traffic going their way. So they, then it's all about making more money, Billy. The more likes, the more, they make stuff up and people click on it, Billy. And I was pointing this out to Hopkins the other day on it's just sports stuff,
Yeah.
How they just use clickbait, Billy. They use a headline that's totally ridiculous and they get people to click on it. And it's not just like some guy with a computer, Billy. I'm talking about like
they get paid for
professional media.
They get advertising based on clicks. So whatever they want to put on there, that's as if it's going to get them clicks.
That's one thing we're not going to do, Billy. We're not going to make stuff up, and we're not going to put people on who put these lies about the Kennedys and the mob and Kennedys and Marilyn Monroe and stuff, and we know it's not true, and we're just not going to put it on there. And it's like, I don't understand the question here, though, Billy, because I mean, no, I don't agree that just because something's talked about it makes it true. No, I don't, because people love to spread gossip about other people. They love it.
Yep. All right. And Austin, we appreciate your comment.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, and we appreciate you listening. All right, next one comes from Madden in the Bronx. Sean, 2 organized crime questions for you. First one, what do you know about Irish gangster is it Nucky or Nicky?
Nucky
Johnson, who Steve Buscemi played in Boardwalk Empire, which I didn't watch, Sean.
I didn't watch. I watched a little bit, but go ahead, Billy.
Yeah. And in your opinion, what was the worst organized crime war in American history?
Okay, so Nucky Johnson in the series, I think they changed the name to Nucky Thompson, I think. But Buscemi, I watched a couple episodes. Buscemi's a great actor. But it just didn't catch my too much stuff, Billy. Like they they were just trying to do too much with it, and I just didn't care for it. But Nucky Johnson though he was a hardcore. He was what the Irish gangster and the Irish politician kind of mixed together, with going back to all the way back to Tammany Hall, and he was a guy that really organized Atlantic City, and he had the first sit down with what would later become Cosa Nostra with Luciano, and he brought in guys that weren't in Cosa Nostra like Al Capone, and Johnson was a powerful guy, and he ran Jersey for a long time, but he was a politician, Billy, who was a gangster, and he
Oh,
had that mix, and
yeah.
yeah, he's a fascinating guy who you don't hear much about. Um, that series, I can't speak to how accurate the character was portrayed because I only watched a few episodes of it. But I didn't like the way they portrayed Al Capone in that. I don't think that was very accurate. So that was one of the detractions for me from that series. Um, but he was a powerful guy. Yeah. And the second part, I question the worst. What was it, Billy? The worst war in
Worst
organized
organized crime war in American
in
history. Yeah.
American history. Well, I mean, we talked about the Cleveland with Danny Green and the Cleveland Cosa Nostra. That was
Hormones.
bad.
Yeah.
The Philly mob wars were bad.
Right.
But the worst, there's no doubt the worst was Chicago in the Roaring
Right.
Twenties with
Yeah.
Al Capone and Bugs Moran. I mean,
Right.
that war went on for years, and they don't even thousands of people died. They don't even know how many people died in that war, and it led to smaller conflicts and just complete madness in Chicago in the Roaring Twenties. So
Yeah.
I don't know if you got a different opinion, Billy, but I think Capone
No, I
Moran was the
agree with you.
worst.
Totally agree with you. Yeah.
And those two guys hate each other. And Billy, we're going to do an episode on them at
Yeah.
some point because I got a lot of information on them, because there's so much disinformation on Capone, Billy. Even with the untouchable stuff with Elliot Ness. Do you know how many times Elliot Ness and Al Capone met, Billy, that could be confirmed? Do you know how many times they met?
No.
One time, Billy.
Yeah.
One time they were face to face, and that was when Capone was arrested for tax evasion.
Right.
Other than that, they can't even confirm that they even met each other. But yet they print this stuff and they make books and movies about them. How they had this big feud going on, and they only met face to face one time. So there's a lot of disinformation. So we'll do an episode on that, Billy.
Okay. Sounds good. All right, Madden. Thank you. Madden in the Bronx, home of the New York Yankees. Sean.
Who's that?
Madden in the Bronx, home of the Yankees.
Team in the Bronx, Bill.
There you
is
go.
that where they are?
The big ballpark in the Bronx. Yep. All right. Thank you, Madden. All right. Next one comes from Jeff, north of the border in Canada. Bill and Sean, I heard you talk about your kids, wondering if they like the same sports teams that you two do. Oh, that's a sore subject, Jeff.
Yeah. Yeah. You want to go first or?
So my daughter's not really into pro sports. So she likes playing sports in high school, but she's not really into pro sports. My son, who is 10, purposely and just to annoy me, likes all of the teams that I hate. So he likes he claims to like the Red Sox, although I don't think he's ever actually watched the Red Sox.
I think my brother had an influence on that too.
I'm sure that that's the case. He also claims to like the Eagles, although again, I don't think he even knows what sport the Eagles play. And then he does like the Penguins, and I take him to. So we have the Penguins. We have their farm team here in Wilkes-Barre, Scranton area, and we go to those games a lot. He does like the Penguins, and he does like hockey. And of course, I'm a Ranger fan, so he likes the Penguins, and just to annoy me. But we do go when the Rangers farm team comes here, the Wolfpack, the Hartford Wolfpack, when they come here to play, I always root for the Wolfpack. But I do root for the Penguins when they play anybody else.
Right.
Yeah, no, Jeremy, he just does not. He does it just to annoy me. I know he does, but yeah. What about you, Sean?
Well, Nathan's a huge Yankee fan, and he's not my biological son, so he was born and raised a Yankee fan, and I'm of course a diehard Red Sox fan. So we go at it. I did try to convert him, and it backfired because the more I try to push for the Sox, the more he hated the Sox. So that went the wrong way for me, but. I do have him on the Notre Dame bandwagon. He's really into college football. He loves college football, and he's a big Notre Dame fan. I'm gonna take him to a game next year. Notre Dame's playing in the the Meadowlands against Navy, I'll take them to that game because, you know, I want to take them to a home game, but the problem with that is, you know, you have to go out there early and you know, I don't want to take them out of school, miss a couple of days because you know, to really go out to Notre Dame, you got to leave on a Thursday.
Yeah.
For a Saturday game, you know, and I don't want to do that, you know, take them out of school, for a couple of days and stuff.
Yeah.
So we'll take them to Meadowlands and, you know, he's really into Notre Dame. He watches, you know, I think we watched every game together this year. So except of course the one I went to and he was texting me the whole time. But yeah, I mean, and the other team I like, the Celtics, he kind of, I don't know. I think he just likes to annoy me with he'll root for whoever they're playing, you know, but I think deep down he kind of has you know, a like for the Celtics, but he just doesn't want to admit it. So I'll take the one win with Notre Dame. I'll take that, Billy.
I don't have any wins, so.
Well, maybe you will, Billy. Give him time. He gets a little older, Billy. He'll
come around.
Yeah.
And by the way, Jeff, I don't know if you were the one who asked us the question last time or mentioned that we should do more hockey.
I think he was, Billy.
So I may have something in the works. I haven't even told you this yet, Sean. So
oh boy,
I may have something in the worworks for hockey.
With Hopkins? You bringing Hopkins out?
Oh God, no. Yeah, Hopkins. Hopkins hates hockey. He would never do it. He would come. He'd do a show just to say how much he hates it.
Maybe you got to take him to a game, Billy, a live game. Maybe if Hopkins went to a live game, he'd really be into it.
I think that's the key. I do. I think seeing hockey live is totally different experience. In fact, a lot of people have said that. A lot of people have become hockey fans in this area since the Penguins came to town. I don't know if it was 20 years ago or whatever, but you know, people had said they'd never watched hockey and started going to the games and fell in love with it. And I know, in fact, one of my good friends, his son, started playing hockey because you know, they would go to the Penguins games, and he's a really good player now. So yeah, it's interesting how seeing it live changes you. It really does. I mean,
Billy, as someone who's been a friend to Hopkins since we were in 4th grade, I can tell you that you probably got a better chance of getting Jeremy to root for the Yankees than to get Hopkins to go to a hockey game, buddy. Because he ain't going. He ain't going.
All right. Well, thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Jeff in Canada. And we will be right back. DK's Corner, located on 802 East Lackawanna Avenue in Oliphant, Pennsylvania. Visit DK's Corner for hot and cold sandwiches, soups, salads, pizza, and delicious breakfast, including breakfast sandwiches, specialty coffees, and DK's Razzle Dazzle flavor shaken espressos. And take it from me, the best cheesesteaks around. Follow DK's Corner on Facebook and Instagram, or call them at 570-209-0278 to find out about their daily specials and catering. Check out DK's Corner, Oliphant's little hoagie shop. And we thank DK's Corner for sponsoring That's Enough Out of You. That's DK's Corner in Oliphant, Pennsylvania. And we would like to thank our sponsor, Gracious Day Grains. Sean, you like to eat healthy, don't you?
Always, buddy. I try to eat healthy as much as I can.
Yeah, and there is nothing healthier than what they call like farm to table, right? So when you can get something right from the ground and make it and then put it right on your table. And Gracious Day Grains, they have a tremendous selection, and it's totally organic. Everything is, you know, they don't use any sort of herbicides or pesticides or anything like that. They have a bunch of different products on their website, Gracious Day Grains. So if you go to graciousdaymilling.com, you'll find a bunch of great stuff there, Sean.
Yeah, you will, Billy. And it's owned by Tom Maxey, who's a great guy from Virginia. He's a truth seeker, just like me and you, buddy. And Tom's growing philosophy follows the wisdom of farmers of centuries past. And a quote from Tom is, "If we practice the right rotations, we exclude the bugs and weeds without needing herbicides or pesticides." So, I mean, this is great, Billy. I mean, what he's doing is fantastic.
There's cornbread mix, there's cornmeal, popcorn he sells, buckwheat Sean, have you had buckwheat pancakes?
No, buddy.
Oh my, they're delicious. I love buckwheat pancakes. And Gracious Day Grains sells buckwheat pancakes. Just go to their website and you'll be able to find all of this stuff there. You can order it right off the website. You can find out all about how they farm and their whole philosophy, Tom's philosophy. It's great stuff.
It really is, Billy. And one of the things he does is he grinds small batches at very low temperatures, which retains the flavor and the freshness.
Of course. And it can't get any fresher than that. I mean, it's literally right from the ground. So again, go to graciousdaymilling.com and just, take a look on there. You can order whatever you want and they'll send it right to your door. Again, it doesn't get any fresher than that, right from Tom's farm to your door to your table. So
absolutely. And eat healthy and you'll feel better.
Absolutely. I wish I could do that. I wish I could eat healthier, Sean.
We'll start with Tom's stuff, buddy.
I'm going to order some of those buckwheat pancakes. I love
There you go. I'm going to try them too, Billy.
Yeah, they're really good. All right. Gracious Day. We thank Gracious Day Grains for their sponsorship.
Thank you.
All right. Last question, Sean. Last one comes from Black.
Oh, we have that additional one too, Billy. Remember the additional one?
No, I don't.
Yeah, I sent it to you, and I forget what it was. It was some about Sons of Anarchy.
Oh, that's right. Okay, so I'll grab that one. But let's do this one first.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, Black Belt in North Carolina.
Right.
Sean and Bill, I know that you think Oswald did not shoot JFK, but do you think he killed Officer Tippet? If not, how does Tippet fit into the plot? Also, what about the attempt on General Walker? Do you feel that was Oswald?
No, on both answers. No, I don't. He didn't kill Tippet, and no, he didn't kill Walker. Because he was in the Texas theater, Billy. The timeline don't match with Tippet. But there's a great book on this. Probably the best book on a Tippet murder is Into the Nightmare authored by Joseph McBride. He did a really good job, I think, on the Tippet part of the murder. But how does Tippet fit, Billy? I don't. That's always been a question. There's been a lot of information that's come out. That Tippet knew Oswald, Tippet knew Ruby beforehand, so he might have been involved that way. But I remember hearing Jim D'Eugenio talk about one of the officers, the Dallas police officers. I think his name Lavelle. I think that was the one. He said that when the police first heard that the president was killed, a lot of the police in Dallas, it didn't really mean much to them because remember, Billy, a lot of them were racist. Let's call it what it is. And the John Birch Society was in there. The Klan was in there. Yeah. And a lot of them, and this is Lavelle's words, they felt that the murder of the president was the same as just an average killing of a black guy in downtown Dallas. And he didn't use the word black guy, right. But, we'll spare that.
Oh, yeah.
But, yeah. So, but when Tippet was killed, now all of a sudden one of their own was killed, and the police went after the suspect who, they blame it on Oswald, and now all of a sudden you had the police targeting this guy to take him out because he killed one of their own. So, how does he fit in it? That's a question. There's still a lot of unanswered questions, Billy. We could do the best we have with the information we have, right, but we can't put every piece of the puzzle together, Billy. And the Tippet one for me has been one that, I don't know how he fits, but I do know Oswald didn't kill him. As far as Walker, no, I don't believe that one. Remember, a lot of that came out after the fact, and Ruth Payne was a lot of the source for that. And we know now that Ruth Payne, there's no doubt she was an operative. I have no doubt that she was a CIA operative, her connections to Dulles and everything else. But, yeah, I don't think either case, Billy, either case.
Mm-hmm.
Was Oswald.
Yeah. All right. Black Belt. Thank you. We appreciate the question. All right, Sean. Yeah, we have one more.
All right, Billy.
All right. Carrie McMillan from Cork, Ireland. Sean and Bill, do you too like the show Sons of Anarchy? Since you do so many episodes on organized crime and Irish gangsters, I was wondering what you thought of the Sons of Anarchy portrayal of the Irish in this series. So we both watched it. I didn't watch it to the end. I think I got annoyed when they killed, what's his name? Who's the
Opie.
Opie. I got it. They killed Opie and I just stopped. watching it at that point, but I did enjoy it up until then. I think it was just getting, I don't know, for me, it was, it must have hit a nerve or something. I don't know. You watched all the, right?
Yeah. Well, I watched it, but I agree with you though, Billy. I think the first like 3 seasons were really good. And then it got to the point where, it just was like, a lot of the same plot lines regurgitated. And it just, the violence got to the point where it was just violence for the sake of violence. And
Right.
it just,
Yeah.
a lot of it didn't make sense to me. And I didn't like the later seasons as far as the portrayal of the Irish. They really didn't, they had like a splinter group of the IRA that the Sons of Anarchy biker gang was dealing with. And they never really showed the problems in the north of Ireland. And, it wasn't really, they just portrayed them as gangsters and not really paramilitary people. So I didn't like that portrayal. And the violence was really, I mean, they really ramped up the violence.
Yeah.
But the one thing I did enjoy, some of the actors that they had portray the Irish guys. And the one guy, Billy, his name is Timothy Murphy. Great character actor. And you know him, Billy. He plays an Irish gangster in every single thing I've ever seen him in. He was in the Criminal Minds. Remember that great story arc they had with he was an IRA guy and the one was a Parentis, I think her name was, the one.
Oh yeah. Prentice, yeah.
Yeah, the one FBI agent. She was undercover with him.
Yeah, that's
he
right.
went after. Remember, that was one of the best.
Yeah, I remember that.
And that guy, he plays, an IRA guy in this. He's always an Irish gangster. He was in Law and Order Organized Crime recently, last season. He played an Irish gangster. It just that show Quantico. I remember, I don't know if you watched that, Billy, but he was an Irish gangster in that one. I mean, he's just great at it, Billy. If I was going to write a movie, Billy, he'd be the guy that I want in it as an Irish gangster. He's just great. But I did enjoy that part. Overall, I think the beginning seasons were really good, but the show just got too out of hand, out of hand with the violence and violence for the sake of violence, Billy, to me is just, I don't know. I'd like the beginning seasons because of the storylines were really good. And they, these biker gangs are no joke, Billy.
Oh,
they're
that's
no joke.
Sure.
I mean, these 1%ers, I mean, these are hardcore individuals. And that's the one thing, that I think that show did show how violent these guys could be. And I think that was pretty accurate. It's just that they just took it to a level where it just wasn't making sense. It was just, I didn't care for the later storylines and stuff.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's why I stopped watching it.
And I didn't really care overall for the way they portrayed, the Irish. They didn't, if you're going to, tell that the problems in the north of Ireland, I mean, show a little bit about what's going on over there. You know what I mean? Like they didn't really go into that at all. They just, like I said, it was just about violence. That was it.
Right. Agree. All right. Well, Kerry McMillan from Cork, Ireland. Thank you for that. That
beautiful place, Cork, Ireland, Billy. I've been there.
Never been.
Oh, beautiful.
Someday. I know my wife really wants to go.
Yeah.
I want to go to Italy. I at some point I really do want to go to Italy, but so maybe we'll do like
I wouldn't mind doing that too. I can't imagine the food in Italy, buddy.
Oh, I know. All right, Sean, another great question and answer episode. We really do have the greatest listeners, the most thoughtful. I mean, with the questions, comments we get are fantastic. So keep them coming, and guys, and we'll keep doing these shows as long as we keep getting all these great questions and comments.
Yeah, and I hope the American Patriot enjoys the Super Bowl tomorrow, Billy. And he sees Taylor Swift on the screen as much as possible.
He's going to be so excited to see Taylor Swift. I can't even imagine what's going to be like in his house. He's going to be cheering every time she appears on the screen.
All right, Billy.
All right, Sean. Well, that's enough out of you, and we'll see you guys next time.
Good night, everybody.
That's Enough Out of You podcast is executive produced and written by Bill Rader and Sean Kane and edited by Bill Rader. The That's Enough Out of You podcast and logo are exclusive property of Bags of Chicken, LLC. Any rebroadcast, retransmission, or accounts of this podcast without the express written consent of Bags of Chicken, LLC is prohibited. So don't even try it.